Life can be complicated, but cooking doesn't have to be. So join me on Mama Lotties as we explore some new recipes and exciting new dishes to get you in that good mood with food. Welcome everyone to another Mama Lotties episode and 3 new recipes to tingle your taste buds. And today I have a really simple starter for you. It's going to be vegetables a la plancha, which usually I would roast, but today I decided to use this little contraption in front of me and grill them instead. So to get started, we're going to use some very summery, very seasonal vegetables. We're going to get some asparagus, some cherry tomatoes, peppers, courgettes, mushrooms, sort of things that you tend to find in the kitchen already. Dice them up, place them on the plancha and just grill them until they're all nice and seared and softened, so we can just eat them and have them as a little sharer to kick off the main course. So to kick off this salad, we're going to start with the more firm vegetables. I've got asparagus first and carrots. What I'm going to do is slice the carrots quite thinly and place them on the one corner and cut the asparagus ends so we don't get the woody bit at the bottom, and we'll use the whole snap technique. So the carrots first. So we'll slice the carrots down thinly, enough so that when the heat goes through, it softens them and we get this sort of crisp but charcoaly taste. We're going to place these on top of the plancha and just lay them out. You can leave the skin on, just make sure you cut off the ends. That way it's going to be more rustic and it's going to be more wholesome. I tend to just, unless it's really absolutely necessary, you get really dirty veg, like really dirty potatoes, I tend to just leave the skin on everything. 'Cause I tend to like it. I find it a bit, it adds a bit of a different texture to your vegetables. Now the asparagus, will do this bending and snap technique. We don't want to keep the ends because that's going to be quite a woody flavor and it's going to stay too firm and too rigid. So we'll just snap them and then we'll place these on here as well. So we'll continue slicing all the other vegetables, we'll place them in each section of the grill and then we'll come back to it and drizzle them with oil, season them and make sure everything is coming out nice and tasty. So what I love about salads, about grilling vegetables and all these different seasonal veg, especially now in the summer, is that you get so many different colors with everything. The cherry tomatoes you can get with a range of colors. You get orange ones, yellow ones, green ones. You can even have red peppers, yellow peppers. So it's nice to keep a variety of different things and get a different range of a palette of colors on your plate. Alternatively, you can do this in the oven. Just put everything into an oven dish. So place it under the grill until all the vegetables start to char grill on top and start to get sort of crisp, browny, a bit burnt. That tends to change the flavor, especially with garlic. When it starts to cook like that, it ends up quite sweet, especially carrots as well. They go really sweet in the oven when you roast them. So artichokes are really easy to do. They are already sort of softened and cooked. You can get them tinned. You can have them like that, already cold and raw, or cold as it is, straight from the tin, or you can cook them and make them a bit warmer, season them and flavor them. But really, it's up to you. So after about 5 or 10 minutes, once you start seeing that everything is cooking, the heat's really going through this, just drizzle a bit of olive oil on top, just to get the flavor of the olive oil in there and to make sure that this doesn't stick and burn to the grill. And then we want to season it with a bit of salt, just a pinch of salt in here. Crack some black pepper on top of everything. Sprinkle a bit of thyme on top. You can use rosemary if you want a different flavor, or any other herbs that you prefer. Leave this to sit for a bit. We'll leave this and we'll start rotating and turning everything over just so everything cooks equally on each side. And after everything is turned and after everything has softened a bit, we'll just finish it off with a bit of honey so we get that sweetness and that caramelization of everything together with the sweetness from the vegetables and the honey just blending together nicely. So the vegetables are now charred, there's only a few minutes left. At this point, we're going to add in the honey. So just drizzle in a bit of honey, which is going to add a sweet taste to this. It's going to finish it off and glaze it nicely. And you'll see that everything's going to bubble and that the honey is going to start acting to the heat straight away. So just evenly spread this out. We don't want to put too much in there. So just drizzle it on top. And that's enough. The smell of the honey is going to come off at you instantly, which is delicious. And then just mix everything together and get this ready to serve up. And there you have it, a vibrant, colourful dish, perfect at a side or a sharing platter with your friends. So it's main course time, and I'm taking inspiration from the local culture and making my own version of chicken korma. Now, chicken korma is quite a popular dish. You tend to have it a lot in restaurants, you tend to have it outside of Gibraltar, especially in England, it's quite a popular dish. So I thought I'd make my own version with a lot of the ingredients that I found in the supermarket here, a lot of the spices that you can find anywhere around Gibraltar, and give it a go. So follow me and let's make it together. So we'll kick off the base of this dish with some onions and some garlic. And what we have to do is just finely chop this and fry them. And then move on to the chicken and the other ingredients for the recipe. So chicken korma I've had in many different ways. I've had it a bit lighter and creamier, and I've had it sort of more red and darker, which is the way I'm going to make it this time. Though each time I make it, depending on how much cream you add, or depending on how much of the spices you add, the colour can vary and the colour can change. So really, if you want to adapt it to make it red, just add more spice. If you want to make it lighter, just add more cream. The best thing about this is that it's done with coconut cream, and it has that coconut flavour, which is really rich, and it's really going to bring out the flavour of the chicken and all the spices together. So we have at least 3/4 of a red onion, put them down as finely as you can. We'll add this to a pan, which I've preheated to at least Mark 3 or Mark 4, and pour this in here with a drizzle of olive oil and a bit of butter. So we add a bit of olive oil so that the butter doesn't burn. So you can also make this with coconut oil if you prefer, to give it a really intense flavour of coconut mixed with the coconut cream and everything else that we're going to do to this. And it's also a bit, they say it's a bit healthier though, we'll see. So whilst the onions are cooking away in there with the oil and the butter, make sure to keep stirring that occasionally. We're going to finely chop and dice these garlic cloves. We need about 2 or 3 garlic cloves for this, and add it straight into the pan. Now while that's frying away and softening, I'm going to get the final ingredient, which is going to give this that final punch and the fragrance to the dish. It's the ginger. Ginger has a bark outside, which we're going to just peel off. We don't need to use the outside. All the goodness and all the fragrance and everything that we're going to use in the dish is in the inside, the meat inside. So we'll just peel this, and we're going to just finely chop this. So now we're going to add this in with the onions and the garlic and fry this away at the bottom of the pan. If you see that the pan is too high, just turn it down a little bit, because we don't want to burn the garlic or the onions. What we want to try and do is caramelize the red onions, because they're quite sweet already, and let that sort of blend together with the garlic and ginger. So after a few minutes that you see that the garlic and the onions and the ginger are all frying away together, we'll get the chicken. Now, I've got corn-fed chicken, which is more orange. It's got a bit of a different flavour to ordinary everyday chicken. Now we're just going to dice this down, and then we're going to add this straight into the pan to cook away with everything else, because the chicken's going to take a bit longer, and we have to make sure that the chicken is all white and cooked through. So we've diced and cubed our chicken breast, so now everything has to be added into the pan with the garlic, the onions and ginger. So we'll pour this straight into the dish. And we'll make sure to stir this in, mix all the ingredients together, and let the chicken cook away slowly and sear the outside, so that until everything is white, before we move on to the next ingredient, which is the coconut cream and the spices. So every Indian dish needs a nice side. This time I'm going to make my own basmati rice with a bit of a twist and give my own interpretation to it. So we're going to get some garlic, just slice it up and finely dice it. What we're going to do is fry the garlic with a handful of rice. Now I tend to put a handful per person, so in this case I might put a bit more. And just let this fry together so that the rice gets the flavour of the garlic and starts to firm up a bit. Then we're going to put some water in here, season it with a bit of salt and let this cook as normal. So after a couple of minutes of frying the garlic and the rice together, we're going to add in some water and let this boil away. So about a glass of water is fine. What we want to do is just let this soften and let the rice cook. And by now your chicken should be all white and all ready for the next step. So we'll get our coconut cream, stir that in, add in a squeeze of tomato puree and stir it in as well. And then we'll start with our spices. So we'll get some turmeric and pour in about a teaspoon of turmeric. Nutmeg, about a pinch of nutmeg. Our cumin, and do the same, about a teaspoon of cumin. Bay leaf. We'll get double cream as well and add in a bit of double cream in here because it's not creamy enough already. Stir this in and you'll see that this starts to change colour. Now the turmeric will stain everything, so try not to get this on your hands. Try not to get this anywhere else except for the pot. Otherwise you're going to have a bit of a nightmare getting that off your counters or off your clothes. And you'll start to see that this goes a korma colour of this sort of creamy yellowness, and you get the flavour and the fragrance of all the coconut, of all the different ingredients, the ginger, everything cooking together and everything coming off this. What we also want to do is get a bit of coriander, take off the leaves and crush this and twist it, just pour it in here. And now we get the last bit, which is the paprika, to add a little bit of spice, a little bit of kick to this. You don't have to add in the paprika if you don't want to. Now if you like it mild, you don't have to add any paprika in here. That's going to give this a bit of a kick in case anyone likes it spicy. And what we have to do is just let this stew and let everything mix in together. Let the chicken cook off that final bit that it needs to cook off. And we'll come back and check on it in a couple of minutes. So after about 10 minutes or so, your chicken should be ready and your rice should be ready. So now it's just time to serve everything up. We'll pour out some of the rice. It should be fluffy. You can have the rice on the side or you can have the rice in the middle and then place your korma sort of in the middle and around it. Now get your korma sauce, your chicken, and just serve it in the middle. And then get your almond flakes and just crush it in your hands and break it on top to finish this off. If you have desiccated coconut, you can also decorate it with a bit of desiccated coconut to give it that extra bit of coconut flavor and that final touch. And that is ready to serve up and enjoy. So let's give this a try and see what we've made. I'll get there eventually. So there you can taste all the coconut. It's rich, it's creamy, it's absolutely delicious. The rice holds the sauce in together and keeps it nice and firm. The chicken is soft. The coriander comes through quite strong in there, so you don't have to add it if you don't want to. But overall, this is a beautiful korma and I don't think you can distinguish it from one from the restaurant. But I say so. So after that rich, intense main course, there's nothing better than a simple, sticky, sweet dessert. So I'm going to make my own banana and chocolate ice cream. This is going to be a dairy-free ice cream with only 3 little ingredients: bananas, dark chocolate, and coconut cream. So we're going to add that into the food processor, mix it all together until it's nice and creamy and serve it up to enjoy. So let's get started. So this is a simple dish, but it requires a bit of preparation beforehand. What you have to remember is to freeze your bananas overnight, but peel them first and chop them if you like. Then it's simple as just getting started and throwing everything into the food processor at once. So with our frozen bananas all chopped up, we'll pass them into the food processor and we'll give it a quick 1-2. So what we want to do is turn the fruit processor and spin those bananas in there until they soften and we get this sort of crumbly effect. So we want to freeze the bananas beforehand because we're not going to use any sort of equipment to freeze the cream or freeze the milk and slowly turn this into ice cream. We're going to use the bananas straight away. So once you have this sort of crumbly effect, we're going to add in the coconut cream. We're going to pour in a bit in there. We can do this bit at a time and then carry on stirring. If you need to, you can get your spoon and just flip this over a bit so that all the bananas puree. And just keep doing this until you have a softer ice cream-like texture and ready to move on to the chocolate. So once you see that the bananas are almost all blended together, we want to get some chocolate, roughly chop this down. You see there, so you get nice chunks. So everything is rustic and different sort of angle, different size, and then add a bit in here. Continue mixing that final bit until everything is completely blended together. If you find that there's too much banana in here at once, you can do it in parts, which makes it easier to blend together, and then you can slowly just keep adding it in. And that is pretty much it. There's nothing more to it. All that we have left to do now is serve it out into different bowls or different cups. Just pour it in there. So we've made this with 4 or 5 bananas, which is enough for about 4 people. Like I said, there's no cream in here, there's no milk, it's dairy free, so it's vegan friendly as well. Just remember to eat it straight away. And if you want to, you can pour this into a bowl, keep it in the freezer overnight and just defrost it a bit before you enjoy it. So I've not made this many times before, but I'm actually really happy with the way it turned out. It's thick, it's creamy, the chocolate and the banana complement each other perfectly. So I think all that's left is to give this a bit of a try. And like I thought, that is perfect. That chocolate is rich, it's intense, but the banana is really soft, the coconut is very subtle, and it's really refreshing, so I think it's perfect for a hot summer's day like today. And that's it. All that's left for me to finish this off, and I'll see you next week with more recipes and more delicious treats to try. So, see you soon.
Great, that was wonderful.